yeah, it's definitely been more than anything I've expected. It's definitely surpassed everything. I mean, going into this season, I was really nervous. Obviously, I was a new driver at a funny car, but I mean, I never did think that, you know, my first season out, I'd go into the countdown to the championship for one, and being number 6th in the countdown so far is it's pretty amazing. But you know what? I got a great team behind me, great sponsor, Traxxas, so I'm in a great position.
Would it be an oversimplification to say that Seattle's the highlight of your year so far?
Yes, it definitely is. Seattle was an amazing race for us. We had been to, that was our 3rd final this season, and getting that win over Matt Hagan was even better. I mean, it was an awesome, you know, experience, and being able to share that with Erica Enders as well as another female making history, and winning in 2 pro classes was it was definitely the highlight.
And you said getting the win over Matt Hagan was special. Have you developed any rivalries yet between the teams?
No, not at all. But just knowing that, you know, he's still pretty new out here too, but I mean, he's won the championship last year, and it's just cool knowing, you know, going up against a Schumacher car, you know, everyone expects the Force Schumacher rivalry, but you know, he's a great driver, and anytime you can get a win over a Schumacher car, you know, you did your job.
And John, you're getting set to go in the countdown looking for your 16th championship. And of course, it was a little more nerve-wracking for you getting in because you really went to the last 2 races before your spot was cemented. You glad that all the pressure's behind you now, and are you ready for the countdown?
Yeah, it was working.
It's good, yeah.
Thank you, Bobby. It was the first weekend that my wife and I didn't go over the numbers. I always tell my drivers, don't watch the numbers. Make your car race, you'll be there or you won't. But yet, I'm guilty of counting every round because every low ET, if you're 1, 2, or 3, can be another point. And if you look at the split between a number of cars that didn't get in, Tasca, Wilkerson almost thought he was out in the final when he oiled the racetrack. And if he'd lost 20 points, he would have been out. And of course, Hagan. And a few of them are just missing it by 1 or 7 points. You know what I mean? And they don't seem critical back in the middle of the year. That's why all year long, I watch every point.
John, you've obviously won 15 championships. You've been doing this for a long while. Can you remember in all your career of having the quality of the cars in the funny car class as good as it has been this year?
I've always said, and I said it last year, the same statement I was asked. I always said there was years, you know, when there was Perdome, when there was, you know, Bernstein, but I've never seen so many cars. You know, Petragon Cruz, his hot rod's really fast. Some days on, some days off. Tony's car's starting to fly. And then you look at the Schumacher group and Tasca and Wilkerson. They're not all in the countdown, but they can all do damage by taking you out. So nothing really changes just who gets the check at the end. And we'll just see what happens.
You got 4 of your cars in and the Schumacher cars that are in there and everything. That has become a very good natural rivalry for the fans. Do you guys feel the same way?
Yeah, but I've seen them all on fire, and that's what I tell Courtney. There'll be days on the start line, there'll be that talk where they want to create that hype between you or aggravate. We all get along pretty good. We have our moments, you know what I mean? But basically, we have families, and we know what's out there. And I got to say, the racers, I can't speak how they are on the starting line with her, but in general, the talk, the way they treat her, when I hear her confused about something, I've had Ron Capps come over and talk with her, and Tony Petragon, you know, here, and it's all good stuff. Because sometimes she doesn't listen to me.
That would be first, a daughter not listening to her father. That's never happened, by the way, in all the history. So, but you got to be really proud of her, right, for what she's done.
I really am. I have to look at it as if I ran it as a boss, we'd be fighting all the time. As good as she does, I really want perfection. And I have to turn that switch. I did an interview with Bobby this morning about excitement about her. And I know I'm a pain to her, and she's being good here. But you know, last week at Indy we had words over stuff that it's more father-daughter wanting to make sure she doesn't fail. That isn't just driving the race car, but that's with the fans, that's with the sponsors. She's trying to, her and her sister trying to take a vacation after the banquet, and it's the one dream that means something. I got to stand on the stage with Ashley in the top 10, and I was afraid I wasn't going to make it this year to stand with her. And in the beginning of the year, I worried about her, and then I was worried about me. But she is a good kid. She keeps her nose clean. She works hard at it. I'll book on that vacation when I find out where it is. I'll get you a couple appearances. Okay, but we're in all the markets around the world. You're going to go somewhere, better make an appearance. But at the end, she's really doing well. She had some tough competition. The Joria girl come out flying, you know, because I watched her, the Joria, really good down there, you know, driving alcohol funny car. And I told Courtney, you know, you're going to have to watch her. She's really driven, and I think she watches all the drivers. And Hagen, because he's cute. But I watch him too, because he's cute. And I told your mother I'd let you talk. This is Bob Price Ball.
And Courtney, before we open up for questions, I'll tell you, don't even tell them what hemisphere you're going into vacation with. They'll track you down. Questions for John or Courtney? Bobby?
John, what does it mean to you to prove those people wrong who said you wouldn't even make the countdown this year yet again?
I started to think maybe they were right. It's not all drivers. Sometimes it's both, the race car too, or a flaw in the team. It's not budget. With Castrol and Ford Auto Club, Brand Source Traxxas, Mac Tool, Freightliners joined us this year. Robert was out doing shows with them yesterday. We have the financial backing, and we test as much as we can. But I get a little overloaded trying to teach her. I get a little overloaded because her sister's going into Top Fuel. Brittany is. It's not official, but even if she can't run all the races, if we can't afford to, we'll run some of them. But I'm just on overload with too many. I just grew too big. I just amazed, and I'm trying to micromanage. And Robert coming in as president, it's given me more time. But just the shows, you know, we do 24 events. Our road show had 34 events this year, from Barrett-Jackson to they're up at the road show's up at
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. Thank you. Even the media's got to talk for me now. But it's all the time. But the biggest pressure is these kids. And as a father, you got to stand there with that gut wrench, because you know what can happen. Yet you have that pride when they leave the starting line. When she ran 04 at Indy, low ET, I said to her mom, it ain't going to hold, but it doesn't matter. I said, she did it for the day, and I was so proud of her, and it just puts tears in you like any parent, you know, with a child or a grandchild.